Hello and welcome to Zero Cool Gaming and today's gaming review. Today we're going to be talking about one of my more enjoyable RPG games, a series of games known as Shadow Hearts 1 and 2. Now, with today's games, there's a lot of complaints about the role-playing genre. Of course, people today say that they're nothing more than glorified books, and they wouldn't be wrong in that assessment. They have stale battle systems, boring storylines, and, well, to be quite honest, a lot of redundant fetch quests. Now, while on an independent basis none of these things are truly bad, when combined with each other, they make for a boring experience, which is why I stopped playing video games. At least the ones created today. And luckily for me, at one time they made better games, and Shadow Hearts being an example of better games made in better times. Now, what makes Shadow Hearts so interesting? Well, one of the more interesting aspects that I enjoyed about this game series is that it had a dynamic storyline. And what I mean by that is literally based on the party members within your party at any given point within the story itself will change because of those party members. It is a dynamic storyline, not a static linear storyline like many of the games today are made. But it does go further than that. It's not your basic, we're going to base this game in fantasy RPG land. Instead, they decided to base this game in a more recognizable 1950s land. Maybe the 1930s. Basically from the 1930s to the 1950s is the time period in which they decided to base these games. And they did an excellent job at doing that. You can forget this stale battle system because with this unique battle system, the game goes absolutely crazy with it. It gives you a ring, and it's called the Fate Ring. And depending on how well you get at using this ring, will quite literally determine how powerful your characters will become. It's not just a matter of defeating enemies and gaining levels. It's a matter of how well did you defeat the enemies to gain your level. The more advanced gameplay you implement, the more strategy, the more experience you will gain. So this is a game that literally rewards you for thinking about its mechanics and using them more efficiently. A lot of games fail to do that today, but here is one that does not. This is a game made during the PlayStation 2 era. And for a PlayStation 2 game, it runs really well on that system. I have no complaints with how it functions and how well it plays. There are a few other types of advancements to the ring system. The Judgment Ring, which you choose an action within it. This ring will pop up. It starts spinning, and you try to get perfect hits into the little red hit areas. You can make those larger as you collect power-ups for your rings, but for the most part, this is the gameplay. Every action in this game, from your magic skills to your regular attacks, has a judgment ring. And each character has a different judgment ring for that character. So timing your attacks is crucial. You can't get into a rhythm in that respect and do the same thing for every character. The game deliberately breaks that up so that you don't get into that repetitive action. Um, this is a turn-based game, so it's an older style RPG. And you're not your typical RPG hero. In this game, you're a human that can fuse with demons and various other things to change your shape, form, and abilities. The characters that you collect along the way are each unique in their own way. And truly, you should play the game to learn this. There's a lot here. You could say that this game is grim dark, but in truth, it's a comedy. Um, and you have to play through both games to really get that. It doesn't seem like it, but in truth, that's what it is. It is heavily hidden behind a veneer of grim dark. But it does make for a very unique game nonetheless. What else do I enjoy about this game? Well, because it is placed in a familiar world, it also takes place around the world. So you get to visit lots of different countries. You get a cursory overview of the culture in those countries. It makes for an interesting storyline, to say the least. And even though it is a PS2 game, the graphics and the full motion video cutscenes are done really well, and they look decent even to today's standards. And that I find to be a good thing for this game. It didn't become dated in that respect like a lot of the PS1 games have become. Now there are good full motion video within some PS1 games, don't get me wrong, but the vast majority of them did not have high-end graphics in that respect generated for their games. A lot of PS1 era games were basically one step above the in-game graphics for their full motion video and cutscenes, which truly there is nothing wrong with. It doesn't bother me, but I can see how it would bother some of the newer players or younger players of today trying to go back and play these games. It might be a little difficult for them to get into the game because it requires you to use a little more of your imagination to bring life to the characters in the world that you're placed within. Shadow Hearts is not one of those games. It makes it very easy for you to place yourself within this world, and not much imagination is needed because they used a lot of imagination to create this world. And that is, too, very enjoyable. You see, for me, I play games as a form of escapism. So the whole point to me playing the game is so that I don't have to think. And it takes me out of this world that I live in, places me within another world, and allows me to experience that. And that's really all I'm looking for out of the game. is just a few hours a day to escape the grind that I have to exist within every day. Well, that's my rant for the day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of yours.